I never imagined I'd end up in an emergency room on Thanksgiving night, with red wine soaking through my shirt and blood running down my temple. But there I was, one hand pressing a paper towel to my head, the other typing 4 simple words to my attorney, Phase 1 complete. Let me take you back. My name is Edward Morrison. I'm 60, 4 years old, retired civil engineer, widowed 6 years now. My wife Claire lost her battle with ovarian cancer in 2019. Since then, I've been living alone in our 4-bedroom colonial in Bellevue, Washington. Bought it in 1995 for $285,000. Zillow says it's worth $2.3 million today. Tree-lined street, good schools, the kind of neighborhood where people fight over parking for their second Tesla. My only child, Brandon, is 34, regional sales manager for a medical device company, married to Jessica. They have 2 kids I adore, Harper 9 and Liam 7. They live in Issaquah 45 minutes away on a good day. Nice house, big mortgage, always one bonus away from being comfortable. Thanksgiving has always been at my place, Claire insisted. I still use her recipes, brown, butter mashed potatoes, the herb stuffing she perfected, homemade cranberry, orange relish. I spent all Wednesday prepping. The house smelled like sage and childhood. They rolled up at 3:15 in Brandon's white Model Y. I watched from the kitchen window as Jessica stepped out carrying a $180 bottle of Camus Cabernet, the kind she only brings when she's about to ask for something big. Dad, Brandon gave me the half, hug back, pat combo. Harper and Liam crashed into my legs screaming, Grandpa. The only pure thing left in this family. They showed me the turkey drawings they made at school. Jessica kissed my cheek, too much perfume as always. Edward, thank you for hosting. This wine is supposed to be incredible. You didn't have to bring anything. Oh, I insist. She smiled, setting it on the counter like a chess piece. We moved to the living room. I had the dining table already set with the good china and Claire's autumn candles. Brandon, surprisingly, didn't pull out his phone once. Red flag number 1. He and Jessica kept trading glances like they'd rehearsed this. Here it comes, so Dad. Brandon started, swirling his glass. Jess and I have been talking about your situation. My situation. This big house, all this space, you, alone. It's a lot to take care of. I manage fine, son. Mortgage is paid off. I have a landscaper, a cleaning lady twice a month. Jessica leaned forward, voice syrupy. But you're getting older, Edward. We worry. What if you fall? What if there's an emergency in the middle of the night? I have Life Alert, good neighbors, and an Apple Watch that calls 911. One if my heart stops. Another glance between them. Here's the thing, Brandon said. Jessica's parents just retired, sold their place in Spokane. Housing prices out here are insane. They're wonderful people, Dad. Linda was an ER nurse for 35 years. Mike still builds furniture in his garage. I already knew where this train was headed. Jessica jumped in, eyes bright. You have 2 perfectly empty bedrooms upstairs, plus the whole basement guest suite. What if they moved in? They'd help with maintenance, cooking, driving you to appointments. They'd pay rent, of course. Everybody wins. You'd never be alone again. I set my glass down carefully. You want your in-laws to move into my house. It's perfect, Jessica gushed, family looking out for family. The oven timer dinged, saved by the bell. Let me check the bird, I said and walked to the kitchen. I stood over the sink, took a slow breath, and reminded myself what my attorney Mark Sullivan had told me 6 months ago when the first red flags appeared. Stay calm, let them talk. The cameras are rolling. Because here's what they didn't know. 4 months earlier, my banker called. Someone had attempted to log into my brokerage accounts using my credentials. They got locked out after 3 wrong answers, but the IP address traced to Brandon's home router. I didn't confront him. I called Sullivan, the best elder, law and estate attorney in Seattle. We spent the next months turning my house into a fortress of evidence, hidden 4K cameras in every common area, Full cognitive evaluation, 100th percentile, documented. Revocable living trust updated with penalty clauses. New will with no contest provisions. And a very specific plan in case things ever turned physical. I carved the turkey, plated the food, and called everyone to the table. Dinner started civil. The kids told me about soccer and Minecraft. I asked Brandon about work. Jessica complimented the stuffing like nothing had happened. Then Brandon circled back. So, Dad, about Linda and Mike moving in. Have you given it any more thought? I laid my fork down. I have, and the answer is no. Jessica's smile froze. No, I like my privacy. I like my routines. I'm not taking on roommates at this stage of my life. Roommates? Jessica's voice pitched up. Their family. I've met them 4 times. Brandon leaned in. Dad, be reasonable. You're 60. 4. What happens when you're 70? 4 and can't manage the stairs. Retirement homes cost $15,000 a month. Then I'll sell or reverse. Mortgage on my terms. Not because someone else decided for me. The table went silent. Harper looked nervous. Liam was sneaking extra rolls. I sent the kids to the living room to find the new Pixar movie. As soon as they were gone, the masks came off. This is ridiculous, Brandon hissed. You're hoarding a $2.3 million asset while we're drowning in daycare bills and college funds. I'm not hoarding anything. I'm living in the home your mother and I spent 30 years paying for. Jessica stood up, face red, wine glass trembling in her hand. Do you even know what our mortgage payment is? Do you know how much private school costs? You sit here like some king in your castle while we struggle. I offered to help with the kids' 529 plans. You both said you had it handled. That was before interest rates doubled. She was shouting now. Claire's been gone 6 years, Edward. When are you going to stop living in the past and help your family? That one landed like a punch, but I stayed calm. Jessica's hand snatched her wine glass. The next second, red wine exploded across my face and chest. The heavy crystal glass followed, clipping my temple as it shattered against the table edge. Instant sting, warm blood mixing with the Cabernet. Brandon jumped up. Jess, what the hell? I touched my forehead, blood on my fingers. I looked straight at her, quiet, controlled. I think dinner's over. I stood up slowly, blood and wine dripping off my chin onto Claire's cream-colored tablecloth. The room smelled like iron and fermented grapes. Jessica's hand was still frozen midair, eyes wide, like even she couldn't believe what she'd just done. Brandon looked at her, then at me, then back at her, mouth opening and closing, no words coming out. I pressed my palm to the cut, warm, wet, pulsing. I spoke so quietly they had to lean in to hear me. Brandon, take your wife and leave my house, right now. Jessica started crying instantly, big theatrical sobs. Edward, I didn't mean the wine. I just snapped. I'm so sorry. I walked past them to the downstairs bathroom, grabbed a white hand towel, pressed it hard against my temple. In the mirror, a 64-year-old man with red streaks down his face, looking like a crime scene photo. Perfect. I came back through the dining room. The kids were still in the living room, thankfully glued to the TV, volume loud enough to miss the drama. I repeated myself, louder this time. Keys, kids, out. I'm going to the emergency room. Do not follow me. Brandon finally found his voice. Dad, let me drive you, please. This is insane. No, you lost the right to help me the second your wife decided to use a wine glass as a weapon. Jessica was full-on ugly, crying now, mascara rivers. It was an accident, I swear. Accidents don't leave stitches, Jessica. I walked to the entry, grabbed my wallet and keys from the bowl, slipped on my shoes. The towel was already soaking through crimson. As I opened the front door, Brandon made one last grab for my arm. Dad, we can fix this. Let's just. I looked him dead in the eye. Phase 1 is complete. Your mother would be ashamed of you. Then I stepped into the rain and pulled the door shut behind me. Overlake Medical Center was 20 minutes away. I drove one, handed, towel clamped to my head, blood dripping onto my lap the whole way. At a red light on Northeast 8th, I texted Sullivan again, on my way to ER. Assault on camera, wine glass to the head, bleeding. His reply was instant. Do not speak to them. Do not go home tonight if you don't have to. I'm meeting you there. I got triaged fast. Head wounds jumped the line. Nurse asked what happened. I told her the short version. Family dinner, argument, daughter-in-law threw a full wine glass at my face. She wrote domestic assault on the chart without blinking. Mark Sullivan walked in wearing jeans and a North Face jacket, clearly pulled away from his own Thanksgiving. He took one look at me and shook his head. Jesus, Ed, you okay? Been better. How bad do I look? Like you lost a fight with a Merlot and a crystal stem. Let's get you stitched and documented. While the doctor cleaned the gash, Sullivan stood in the corner scrolling through his phone, already pulling the footage I'd forwarded from the home system. 4 different angles, perfect audio. Jessica's scream. The glass shattering, my comm exit, gold. Doctor came back. 4 stitches, no concussion, tetanus up to date. Sullivan leaned in close while the nurse was out of the room. Decision time, Ed. We press charges tonight, or we let it cool and they spin it as heat of the moment. Your call. I didn't even hesitate. Press charges. Assault in the 2nd degree. Elder abuse enhancement if we can get it. I want a restraining order filed before sunrise. He nodded once. Done. 2 Bellevue PD officers showed up 20 minutes later, polite but thorough. Took my statement, photographed the injury from every angle, bagged the bloody towel and wine, soaked shirt as evidence. One officer asked if I felt safe returning home. I do. But I want Jessica 100 yards away from me and this property until a judge says otherwise. They told me a detective would follow up in the morning. Sullivan drove me home in his SUV. House was dark when we pulled up. No Tesla in the driveway. Good. Inside, we went straight to my office. I pulled up the security app on the big monitor. We watched the entire dinner in crystal. Clear 4K. Jessica's voice, shrill and venomous. You sit here like some king while we struggle. The throw, the shatter, the blood. Sullivan actually smiled, cold and professional. This is the cleanest elder abuse case I've ever taken to a prosecutor. She's done. I asked the question that had been eating at me. What about Brandon? Sullivan exhaled. He didn't touch you, so no assault charge sticks to him directly. But the attempted account breach 4 months ago, that's financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. We file that tomorrow morning with the bank records and the IP evidence. Separate investigation, separate hell for him. I stared at the frozen frame of Jessica's snarling face on the screen. They really thought they could force their way in here. They always do, Sullivan said, until someone says no and means it. He left around 11:30. I poured myself a small scotch, sat in Claire's favorite chair, and let the silence settle. My phone buzzed nonstop. Brandon, 27 missed calls, a string of texts growing more desperate by the minute. Dad, please pick up. She didn't mean it. We can fix this. I'm so sorry. I turned the phone face down and went to bed. For the first time in years, I locked my bedroom door. The next morning, Friday, the house was quiet except for rain tapping the windows. I made coffee, sat at the kitchen island with 4 stitches itching under the bandage, and waited for the storm to hit them. 8:12 a.m. Sullivan texted, detective just left their house, Jessica taken in for booking, Brandon freaking out, restraining order being typed now. 8:43, doorbell camera pinged, Brandon alone, unshaven, eyes bloodshot, holding a paper Starbucks tray like a peace offering. I opened the door only as far as the chain allowed. 48-hour notice. Brandon, you know the rules. Dad, please. Jess is at the station. They fingerprinted her. She's never been arrested in her life. She assaulted me in my own home. That tends to have consequences. He tried to push the door. I didn't budge. They're saying elder abuse, Dad. Elder abuse? She's 33. She threw a weapon at a 64-year-old widower's head. Washington law calls that assault 2 with a vulnerable adult enhancement. She'll be lucky to avoid jail time. His face crumpled. We're drowning. Daycare is $6,000 a month. My commission checks are half what they were last year. We thought if her parents moved in, they could help with the kids and chip in on the mortgage. So you decided to take my house instead of fixing your own life? That's not. Save it for the judge. I closed the door. 9:30. Sullivan again. Emergency protection order signed. Jessica must stay 500 feet away. Served at the station an hour ago. You're bulletproof now. 10:15. The bank called. Fraud department officially flagged Brandon's IP for attempted unauthorized access. Accounts frozen pending investigation. I gave them permission to share everything with Bellevue PD. By noon, the story was already trickling onto neighborhood Facebook groups. Someone recognized Brandon's Tesla in my driveway on Thanksgiving. Comments exploded. Disgusting. Protect our seniors. Hope she gets what's coming. Jessica's yoga studio's Yelp page went from 4.9 stars to 2.3 overnight. Clients canceling left and right. Afternoon, Brandon tried the grandkids card. Harper's iPad sent me a FaceTime request. I let it ring. Then a photo arrived from an unknown number. Harper holding a drawing of me with a band-aid on my head and the words "I miss you, Grandpa" in purple marker. My chest hurt worse than the stitches. I saved the picture, but didn't reply. That evening, Sullivan came over with a thick folder. Tomorrow, we file the financial exploitation report. Attempting to access over $2 million in assets belonging to a vulnerable adult is a Class B felony. Even if the prosecutor cuts a deal, Brandon's career in medical sales is finished. Most companies won't touch someone with that on their record. I stared at Claire's empty chair across the table. The kids don't deserve this. They don't, he agreed. That's why the education trusts are already funded and locked. Harper and Liam get their college money at 25, no matter what their parents do. Ironclad, separate trustee. Brandon can't touch a cent. He slid one more document across. Updated will. If Brandon or Jessica contest it, try to claim diminished capacity, or pull any guardianship stunt, they're automatically disinherited. Everything goes to the grandkids' trusts and a list of charities Claire loved. Signed, witnessed, notarized, video recorded, bulletproof. I signed without hesitation. That night I slept better than I had in years. 6 months later, the dust settled exactly the way Sullivan predicted. Jessica pleaded guilty to assault in the 4th degree, downgraded from assault 2, because the prosecutor wanted a quick resolution. She got 12 months probation, mandatory anger management classes, a $500 fine, and a permanent criminal record. Her yoga studio closed. The online hate never stopped. She's working part-time at a juice bar now. Brandon never faced felony charges. The prosecutor called the account breach, attempted financial exploitation, but declined to prosecute because no money actually moved. Still, the medical device company let him go the day the police report hit their HR desk. He's selling used cars in Renton now, commission only. The Tesla is gone, repoed. The restraining order against Jessica became permanent. Brandon is allowed supervised visits with the kids at my house only. 48 hours written notice, daylight hours, no Jessica within 500 feet. He's used the privilege exactly once. He showed up with Harper and Liam, stood awkwardly in my foyer while the kids hugged me too hard, and asked why Grandma Jessica couldn't come in. I told them the truth in kid words. She hurt Grandpa once. The judge said she has to stay away until she learns not to do it again. Harper nodded like she already understood. Liam just wanted to play with my old train set in the basement. Brandon couldn't look me in the eye when they left. I still get drawings in the mail. No return address, but I know Harper slips them into friends' backpacks to get them mailed. I keep every one taped inside the pantry door where I see them every morning when I make coffee. The house is quieter now. Peaceful quiet, not lonely quiet. I joined a woodworking club at the senior center. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I build birdhouses with a group of retired guys who swear too much and tell terrible jokes. I started painting watercolors. Claire always wanted us to take a class together. I finally did. There's a woman in the class, Marlene, widow, sharp sense of humor. We grab coffee after, nothing serious yet. Just nice to laugh again. I took the Scotland trip Claire and I always talked about. 3 weeks, Edinburgh, the Highlands, Isle of Skye. Stood on cliffs with wind so strong, it almost knocked me over, and I laughed out loud because I felt alive. Brought home a small watercolor sketch of Eilean Donan Castle. It hangs where Claire's photo used to be. She would have loved it. My investments are up 2% this year. The house appraises at 2.6 million now. I'm not selling, ever. This is where Claire's laugh still lives in the floorboards. Sometimes on Sundays I drive to Discovery Park, sit on the same bench we used to take the kids to when Brandon was little, and I watch new families fly kites. I think about forgiveness. I think about consequences. I think about the difference. I still haven't answered a single one of Brandon's letters. There have been 7. They sit unopened in a drawer next to Claire's old recipe cards. I'm 64. I might have 20 good years left, maybe 30 if the genes hold. However many there are, they're mine, my mornings, my routines, my locked doors and running cameras, my peace. Last month Harper turned 10. A plain white envelope appeared in my mailbox, no stamp, someone hand-delivered it. Inside was a birthday party invite on thick cream cardstock, a park picnic, bounce house, unicorn cake. At the bottom, in careful adult handwriting that wasn't Brandon's, "Grandpa, please come. We miss you so much. Love, Harper and Liam." I sat on the porch steps and stared at those words until the paper shook in my hand. I didn't go, not because I don't love them, because the second I walk into that park, Brandon and Jessica will film it, post it, spin it. See, everything's fine now. Grandpa forgave us. And the restraining order gets questioned. The probation officer gets confused. The narrative flips. I won't give them that footage. The kids deserve better than being used as pawns. Sullivan says when Harper turns 18, she can find me herself. No rules, no middlemen. 8 more years, I'll be 72. If I'm lucky, I'll still be here, still painting, still driving the same silver Highlander with a dent in the fender. I'll take her for coffee, show her the drawer full of every drawing she ever sent, and tell her the whole ugly story when she's old enough to understand that love sometimes has to wear armor. Until then, I live. I wake up every morning in the bed Claire and I picked out 30 years ago. I drink coffee on the same deck where we watched Brandon learn to ride a bike. I lock the doors at night, knowing no one can force their way in, not with guilt, not with tears, not with a wine glass. Some people call me cold. Some people call me selfish. I call it survival. If you're watching this and you're over 60 or 50 or 40, and your adult kids are circling like sharks every time house prices go up, if they're suddenly worried about you living alone the same month their mortgage resets, if they start dropping words like cognitive decline, or maybe you need help managing things, listen to me. Document everything. Cameras, bank alerts, yearly cognitive exams, a lawyer who specializes in elder law, not the guy who did your cousin's DUI. Build the fortress before they bring the battering ram. Because the people who truly love you will respect a no. The ones who don't will throw wine at your head on Thanksgiving, and then cry victim when the police show up. You do not owe anyone your peace. Not your children, not your grandchildren, not even the memory of the spouse who died and left you the house. You only get one life. I chose to finish mine on my terms, in my house, with my boundaries locked tighter than Fort Knox. And every night when I turn off the lights, the cameras keep rolling, the doors stay locked, and Claire's watercolor of the Olympics hangs over the fireplace. I sleep like a man who finally won a war no one else even knew he was fighting. That's not selfish, that's victory. This is Edward Morrison reminding you, protect your peace, protect your home, protect yourself, even from family, especially from family, because justice isn't always sweet. Sometimes it just tastes like quiet. If this story hit you, drop a like, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe. More real vengeance served ice cold every day. See you in the next one.